Looks like we're going to have to go all the way to South Carolina for a judge there in federal court to decide whether Lindsay Halligan, Donald Trump's hand-picked, inexperienced novice prosecutor, whether she lives or dies as a prosecutor for Leticia James, James Comey, or anybody else that Donald Trump has on his enemy list. And it's going to be decided in South Carolina, not in Virginia, by a judge who was appointed, wait for it, by Bill Clinton, a senior status judge. That's a major development. We got another one. Remember the interview that I did of Anna Bauer of Lawfare, in which she got unsolicited direct messages on the Signal app from Lindsay Halligan about the Leticia James case and then wrote an article about it? She came on and talked to us about it. Well, American Oversight, a public interest group, is now seeking to find out all the information about how many times Lindsay Halligan has been using deleting functions and disappearing functions on Signal to destroy public records. It starts with a Freedom of Information Act request. It ends in a lawsuit. And I'm going to have Anna Bauer on with me in about an hour or two right here on Tuesday on Legal AF. Let's get into the Lindsay Halligan mess, and I'll take you to South Carolina in a second. In the meantime, hit the free subscribe button. Now is the time to defend our First Amendment rights and yours. Become a free subscriber to the Legal AF YouTube channel. Slide over to Legal AF Substack, where for $6.77 a month, I'm not making it up, you can become a paid member. That's what keeps the lights on. That's what gets us, keeps the content coming to you uninterrupted. Let's go over Lindsay Halligan. 2 motions were filed. One by the New York Attorney General Leticia James. She was indicted for mortgage fraud by Lindsay Halligan. One by former FBI Director and U.S. Attorney in New York, James Comey. He was indicted for perjury to Congress, also by Lindsay Halligan. Right away, the lawyer for James Comey, Pat Fitzgerald, filed a motion to disqualify Lindsay Halligan. So did Leticia James with her lawyer, Abby Lowell. They both claim the same thing. And they're right that under 28 U.S.C. Section 546, the Vacancy Reform Act, there was no ability for Pam Bondi to appoint Lindsay Halligan as the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. That had to be chosen by the judges of the Eastern District of Virginia because Lindsay Halligan, it was the second interim U.S. attorney. Eric Siebert already had been appointed by Pam Bondi just before, but Donald Trump fired Siebert because he wouldn't prosecute Comey and James. See how we're all tying this together? But it's a single-use ticket. You only get to pick one prosecutor if you're Pam Bondi. Then you got to go to the judges of the Eastern District of Virginia. Now we got the conflict because those judges, if Leticia and James are right, Leticia James and James Comey are right, those judges have to pick Lindsay Halligan's successor. So James Comey very smartly asked Judge Nachmanoff, who presides over his case, to send his case, because of a conflict, to have it decided by another judge. That happened. Judge Nachmanoff sent it to Judge Diaz of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, who sits over Eastern District of Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina. That's the Fourth Circuit. So now they have to pick a different judge who's not presumably in Virginia, and Judge Nachmanoff did. Picked Judge Cameron McGowan Curry. Judge Cameron McGowan Curry has been on the bench since Bill Clinton put her there, 25 years ago. She's a lifelong resident of Florence, South Carolina. She worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., and she's going to be making the decision. But why for both? Because Judge Walker, who presides over Leticia James, in her case, consolidated the 2 motions because they're identical. So off we go to South Carolina with a Clinton appointee to decide if Lindsay Halligan lives or dies as a prosecutor. Now that's part 1 of my update. Part 2 of my update here on Tuesday on Legal AF is about American Oversight, because they sent a letter, get this, to Marco Rubio, who's the acting archivist of the United States, and Pam Bondi of the Department of Justice, about the disappearing message app that one of their U.S. attorneys is using to communicate with the public, including reporters like Anna Bauer. Don't forget, here's a little plug. Anna Bauer, I have a new interview with her about her reporting being at the heart of a motion brought by Leticia James to gag Lindsay Halligan. You got to watch it. It's coming up in about an hour right here. Now, look, here's the letter. Let me read it to you. And the reason Marco Rubio's getting written to is because he took over this thankless job of being the archivist, which means all the public records. You can't destroy public records. Here's what it says. American Oversight writes to bring to your attention to the potential unlawful destruction or removal of federal records of interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, in violation of the Federal Records Act. All right, noting that, and then there was a case. We just had a case presided over, I believe, by Judge Boasberg, the American Oversight versus Hegseth, where they brought a case against Pete Hegseth because if you'll recall, at the beginning of the administration, Mike Waltz, who was a national security advisor, set up a signal chat to talk about bombing the Houthis in Yemen. Except he added Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic magazine, the editor-in-chief, who peered in to this entire chain with Hegseth and Marco Rubio and Vice President Vance and Stephen Miller and Tulsi Gabbard and you name it. So there was already a lawsuit about this, and there the judge ruled signal messages sent by government officials in the course of public business are federal records. And they should know better because Marco Rubio is part of the case. Here's what they say in the letter. Specifically, interim U.S. Attorney Halligan appears to have removed or destroyed messages exchanged with a legal journalist, Anna Bauer, via the commercial messaging application Signal, where she tried to influence news coverage related to that conversation. According to Bauer's October 20th article, Halligan contacted Bauer on Signal and set disappearing message time for 8 hours. It's according to the reporting. This means that each message Halligan sent was to disappear from her device 8 hours after she sent it, and each message Halligan received was to disappear 8 hours after she read it. Because it provides substantial reason, that article, they say, provides substantial reason to believe public records are being destroyed. They then go through and attach all of the text messages that she said. Fortunately, Anna Bauer screenshotted them. Here's how they end the letter, which is a Freedom of Information Act request, which will be denied. Then they're going to have to run into court and file a FOIA lawsuit. Further, they say on page 4, Halligan's admission in her final message to Bauer that the Signal conversations was set to disappear suggests that she used Signal for the purpose of creating records that could not be retained. Without Halligan's proactive preservation of the messages at issue, her decision to automatically disappear records regarding her actions as interim U.S. Attorney violates the Records Act. Finally, Halligan's fluency and comfort with Signal's auto-delete feature suggests that this exchange with Bauer was probably not Halligan's only usage of auto-deleting Signal messages for government communications. Rather, it justifies the inference that Halligan likely used Signal auto-delete in many other internal or external communications and will continue to do so unless you take action. Signed, Ron Fine, Chief Counsel, American Oversight. Here's one of my favorite footnotes I've read in a while. Footnote 6, bottom of page 4. Given the subject matter of Halligan's communications, criticizing a social media post sharing an article regarding prosecution of a critic of President Trump, Halligan's repeated accusation that Bauer doesn't report fairly may be especially appropriate for preservation as potential evidence of an implicit threat. Discussing forms of government coercion for First Amendment analysis. So what they're saying there is that was a threat against Bauer to try to chill her reporting. Wow. I'm glad you're here. Lots to cover, lots to continue to follow. Follow me with my exclusive interview of Anna Bauer, this reporter that I just read about, coming up in about an hour here on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. In the meantime, Legal AF Substack, become a paid member. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.